evening, viewers, and welcome once again to FPRL Tier 3. This time it's round 10 of our 20 race calendar, which means we're at the midway point of our Season 3 so far for these Tier 3 drivers, and it's a race around the love or hate track of Paul Ricard this evening. 15 corners of slow speed, mid speed, and high speed cornering will make this an all-round challenging track for all the drivers this evening. As you can see, 19 drivers in the field tonight, just one short of a full grid, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll get some fantastic action nonetheless. The Constructors' Championship looks like it may be getting away from the other teams at the top of the table at the moment. Alfa Romeo proving a formidable form. First 9 races of this Season 3, but coming into the second half of the season, which we will be after this event, of course, Championship leader Snedden will be sure looking for a good result to extend and preserve that championship lead ahead of next week's race around Hungary. But TJ, thanks for joining me again in the commentary box. Who out of the 19 drivers in the lineup to this evening can challenge Snedden, given the form he's in?
So I do have to say Snedden's not driving tonight. He unfortunately can't make France. And Nigel Pegel isn't here as well. So it does give Adrian a really good chance to really push on with his championship belt, and a good result here for the FPRL locker would put him in a fantastic position to close that gap between himself and Snedden.
It is Locker second place in the championship. A lot of people seem to think it's Adrian for some reason, but it isn't Adrian. He does join us tonight though, Adrian, so he can put himself towards the front of the table a little bit more with a good result here. But it is Championship Challenger FPRL Locker at the moment, who will be looking then, as you mentioned, to close that gap, given that Snedden isn't here this evening. Midfield Maestro makes his FPRL debut for Alfa Romeo this evening, taking Snedden's place. We'll see if Tadas can strike up a similar synergy with the Maestro, we'll call him. We'll go with the Maestro. I don't know why it's called Midfield Maestro. That's hopefully that doesn't apply to where he'll finish in Tier 3 for his sake. Anyway, as we watch Diamond on a lap, he's been with us a couple of weeks now, showed some pace recently, TJ, in a couple of races. Do you think he's got the pace with Snedden missing today? Nigel Piggle, another name you mentioned, another big name, not here this evening. Do you think he's got the pace to challenge at the front?
Yeah, definitely. He has shown some fantastic pace the past couple of races, and yeah, given now that Snedden and Nigel aren't here, I'd expect them to be in the top 3 today.
Every chance, yeah, for him to make the podium today. His chances for other drivers as well. Of course, Maxi we've not seen on the podium since the first opening 3 rounds of the season. He was on a bit of a run of form, needs to find a bit of pace again to get onto those podium places, but he has scored consistent points finishes nonetheless, so might be looking to profit from fast drivers' absence tonight. As Diamond crosses the line, it's a 1:31.3 from the Mercedes driver then. TJ, with that time there, do you kind of know what we're looking for in terms of lap times, especially in this part of Q1?
No, I don't, unfortunately, but I do think that's a slow lap from Diamond now. I'd expect him to be in the 120s, but I might be mistaken there. No, I am mistaken there. That lap the Swirls have just set.
Yep, Aspenio and Swirls are coming through then with a 31.4. Swirls are with 31.6. Maxi, who we just spoke about, with a 30.4 there then. So a quick lap from him. Mongo then with a 31.5. Tadas with a 31.6 as well. I'm not good, just starting a flying lap. Balente crosses the line and sticks that Ferrari 4th place at the moment with a 31.4 to go just behind Aspenio as things stand. But the time's coming in thick and fast. The weather looks pretty dry to us, TJ, so I can't imagine we're going to see any rain. I don't know if anyone's informed you of any rain that we might see later on.
No, I've seen nothing, or no one said anything on Twitch chat just yet. So it is a mystery, which is exciting for us. But given everyone's out on the softs, I think that sort of suggests already that we are expecting a dry race.
Oh, Midford Maestro in his first qualifying session in FPRL sticks that car fastest at the moment of the 10 drivers to put a time in, a 30.2, then just over 2/10 quicker than Magsy in second place at the moment. Panic End had invalidated on his fast lap as well. Willy Bum 2. A couple of the drivers invalidating on their fast runs on the soft tyres. Is that a problem with this circuit? Do you find that the soft tyres, you know, you can see everyone's on those tyres. I mean, we're not seeing anyone on the mediums, is what I was going to say. Is we've seen that a feature a few times. Do you think they're going to try and do it in Q2 on the mediums?
Yeah, definitely. So the information I'm doing about this track is that on the soft tyres, the tyre wear is extremely high. I average figures of around 8 to 10 laps on the softs, and then anything after that, they are dead and you lose too much time. So I wonder if a lot of these drivers have done the research and want to start on the mediums.
Seems that way. We're not seeing anybody take the bold gamble of trying the mediums in Q1 then. We're riding with another new driver for Tier 3. Don't know how to pronounce this one. It's either Neder or Neder. We'll go with Neder because there's nothing on the end of that name. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that a little bit wrong, but he's put a time in of a 31.8 then at the moment, 10th of the 11 drivers to set a lap so far, albeit that was the second lap on that set of soft tyres. In terms of qualifying pace and getting the laps in, is it possible to do 2 runs on the soft tyres? I know in terms of ERS this circuit is a little bit pushy, but he's done 2 laps there to get those tyres in. He most likely invalidated on the first. Do you think it hurts you doing the second push lap as opposed to getting time in on the fresh tyres?
Yeah, definitely. You know, even this is it is a very straight track. There's 3 very long straights as such. But the corners around it, because they're so twisty, turny, and there's high speed, low speed corners. You just wear the tyres that much and pull on them that I think trying to do a second push lap on your soft tyres, I think you'll still get a decent time, but you wouldn't get as good obviously if you were setting one on a fresh set, or like we see sometimes in other tracks where you can do a second push lap and you don't really see much of a delta difference.
That's what a lot of the drivers will be hoping for, considering they are struggling with track limits at the moment. Tadas crosses the line. It's an uncharacteristic slow lap from him there. I wonder if he's going to try and push on this lap now. Those tyres, with 3 laps of wear on now, they will surely be losing a little bit of performance, I should say. Panic End managed to get a valid time in during all of that, a 31.6 from him to go 8th fastest. We know he's got a bit of pace in that Aston Martin and will surely look to get a bit of a better time in to perhaps go. Well, I'm wondering what kind of the cut-off is going to be at the moment. We're seeing such a spread of times. You've got Midford, Maestro and Magsy at the moment, 30.2, 30.4, and it's a big gap back to Espenio in 3rd place, at 31.1. So what do you think the cut-off is going to be at the moment? You got it right last week, TJ. I'm just wondering if you can be able to get it right second week on the bounce.
I mean, this is no disrespect to the driver, obviously, but I have probably got to look around Wills' pace. You know, he is normally on the cut-off between Q1 to Q2. So yeah, 1:31.6, maybe 1:31.5 is what drivers will want to try and aim for here.
Now, the times at the moment would suggest that. To be fair, I don't think you'd be wrong in assuming that at the moment. No, I think there's about 10 minutes left of the session. I can't quite see because there's a very convenient yellow flag. It's just under 9 minutes actually now. 8:40 on the clock as it stands, and 7 drivers yet to get a time in at the moment. They are I'm Not Good, David Lolface, Adrian, FPRL Locker, who we spoke about earlier, TS9, Mr. Whippy, glad to see him back on the grid once again, and Willy Bum yet to get a time in at the moment. We're watching David Lolface at the moment coming through the final sector. I personally absolutely hate this final sector. Absolutely hate it. I can never get the car lined up right, but David Lolface looks like he's making easy work of it at the moment. It looked tidy, but is it fast as he comes across the line? And it's a 1:31.4, nothing to be sniffed at there. just gets himself ahead of his teammate Valente into 7th place. And if TJ's cut-off is correct on the 31.5, that might just about see him through.
Yeah, I mean, take that away from David there. That's a fantastic lap, considering he's with the likes of his teammate and Diamonds, and only a couple of tenths off Tadas as well. As Forceman has retired, looks like he's in the pits. But yeah, back to David. Yeah, that's a fantastic lap, and he'll be over the moon with that. He has shown some real good pace past couple of races. Viewers might remember back in Silverstone where he played a blind on strategy, but unfortunately couldn't finish the job due to things out of his control. But yeah, I do think David has improved a lot this season, and he'll be happy with that lap.
He has indeed. And yeah, as you mentioned, that time, hopefully we'll see him through, considering he's up there with his teammate, as we know, has got pace in that Ferrari. Not too sure that's the best lap we'll see from Valente in this session. He might decide to come out again. We're riding with Mr. Whippy though, given a little bit more notice this week to attend the race. I think he was given 10 minutes notice last week in Austria.
I think it was something like that, yeah.
To make the grid. A little bit more notice, but he's been away from F1 for a few weeks due to his situation in the real world. His work-life balance clearly getting in the way of his FPRL balance, unfortunately for him. Anyway, it's a 34-1 from Mr. Whippy at the moment, but it seemed to be a pretty conservative lap. I think he'll push and go faster than that. Then 4 drivers now not to get a time at the moment. TS9 in the pits might be a little bit concerned that he's not out on track at the moment, seemingly leaving it for only one run as we watch I'm Not Good get very squirmish there on the curve, avoids invalidation. 6 minutes to go of the session as things stand. Let's see if I'm Not Good can take this final sector any better than David Lawface managed. Albeit David Lawface was very quick through the final sector, but I'm Not Good seems to have kept it similarly composed there and will come over the line. It's a 31.8. So he might have looked tidy through the final sector, but there was no pace in that lap, and he will struggle to get through with that time.
Yeah, that's a shame because I'm Not Good is obviously shown some good pace again. He was on the podium last week. A bit of a shock to him if you get the podium. And that's a disrespect to him. We did admit that as well. But yeah, we did this point that same as Locker as well. I've been watching past couple of laps. And he's struggled with track limit, and as he's just tried to set his lap there, he ran out of fuel, probably a couple of attempts away from the line, hence why his lap was pretty bad there, which is, he'll want to get back around and back out as soon as possible, given that this is a chance this week to shorten the gap between himself and Sneddon.
As we're about to watch Neda come over the line, I think I've been told it's pronounced wrong. I've been told it's Neda or something like that. He needs to put a few more R's in there if you wanted us to pronounce it like that. Crashes the line in 31.2 to pop that AlphaTauri into 7th place. And Swilzer retires in the pit lane. He's had enough of this session, it would seem, and he's looking to get through to Q2 on that 31.6, which is just above our prediction to get through to the next part qualifying then. Actually, TJ, you said that I'm Not Good was on the podium last week. He actually went and he won the race. Actually.
Oh yeah, apologies about that, yeah.
We've kind of undervalued there the pace of I'm Not Good. Yep, last week's race winner. He did admit that he was quite lucky to manage that win. Things just fell into place for him, but both McLarens at the moment look like they're struggling massively with their pace. 15th and 17th. Locker cannot get a valid timing as things stand. Still 17th on an invalid lap, out of fuel, of course, has to come back into the pit. I'm pretty sure there's only a smattering of minutes left at the moment, about 4 minutes or so. I wish I could see, but his car is bringing out a yellow flag, so I can't see the time at the moment. Willy Bum in all that said a 31.6 to go 12th fastest. We'd expect to see more pace from him. He's found some pace really in the past few races, TJ. That's good old Willy Bum, and he's very much been on the forefront of Q3, and in fact I'm pretty sure in last week in Austria. He got some good points in the race.
Yeah, they did. That is a driver that could generally get himself on the podium tonight as well with the big 2 out of this race. Yeah, he's once again he's a driver that's improved throughout the season, and he's pretty much a banker in Q3 nowadays.
12th fastest at the moment, of course, but only needs a time to put himself in the top 15 at this stage of qualifying. Magsy choosing that his time is enough in Q1, retiring in the pits, same as midfield Maestro, which watched Mongo go over the line in a 31.4 from him in the Red Bull. Good time. That should hopefully see him through into Q2, and he's used the same tyres that he said he is opening lap on for good measure, saving another set of the softs then. Watching Panic end at the moment through sector 2. He's 4 tenths up. He's still 4 tenths up as he comes through sector 2. Is this a sign, TJ, with 2 minutes to go then? The track is coming a little bit to the drivers at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, the drivers are laying rubber down for each other, and yeah, it certainly looks that way. TS9 is in a real spot above her. He's just tried to start his fastest lap, got around to turn 2 and dropped it. Obviously, I want to try to get the lap as quick as he can. He's got a minute and 33 to get round, so he should just about make it, but he can't go slow.
He's going to have to burn those tyres up, trying to make the line for his final push lap. Panic again crosses the line at 31.2. Big improvement by those 4 tenths that he carried throughout the lap then, throughout the first sector. He must have had a horrible first sector on his first lap. Finishes the lap 4 tenths up, then puts himself 6th and out of danger as things stand then. So the drivers that are in danger at the moment, I'm Not Good, still in the pits, will not get another lap in then. FPRL Locker is on an out lap, so we'll get another time on the board, provided he keeps it clean. Mr. Whippy at the moment out there too. We're watching him through the final sector at the moment. TS9, as you mentioned, TJ, looks like he's gone round again.
Yeah, I've stayed on board with him, and he's dropped it another 3-4 times now, so he definitely won't get a lap in. Once again, I think this is a driver that's shown a bit of form recently, and to not even set a time in Q1, you'll be extremely disappointed with that.
Massively disappointing for TS9 as things stand, as the drivers cross the line with about 30 seconds left on the clock. TS9 has dropped it again. I'm not too sure what's going on with his car here. He seems to have dropped it about 6-7 times.
Yeah, I think he hasn't blamed the tyres. He knew he had to push it, and I think he hasn't let the tyres cool down. So yeah, he's just dropping it around every corner currently. Obviously, this isn't this isn't confidence building at all for the race, because if it is a setup issue, are we seeing how his race is going to go already?
I was just going to say, TJ, he knows that he's not going to get a lap in now. It almost... I'm not too sure what we're spectating and witnessing here. He seems to have... I don't know. I don't know how to describe that. Yeah, he knew we weren't going to get a lap in. He still seemed to be driving around, spinning the car. It's not a good look at the end of qualifying, really, especially on stream. But we'll gloss over that for now, and we might revisit that in the future. But at the moment, FPR Locker and Mr. Whippy on a lap. Not good news for Mr. Whippy, though, as he's been passed by Locker, it seems, on this lap. He was behind the Haas driver as they started their final runs. And this is a big lap then for FPR Locker. Can he get himself through to Q2? It'll be at the expense of his teammate, who he will push down into 16th place then. He will come up and over the line. And it's not enough.
I mean, he's going to be fuming at himself over that one. This was his chance to really close the gap to Sned, and obviously this is only qualified. But starting P16 in France, yeah, that's not a great starting position at all for the McLaren driver.
Both McLarens then really struggling in the opening part of qualifying, and we touched on, TJ, the constructors battle at the moment, and with Sneddon missing as well for the Alfa Romeo, who we know is a quick driver. We know that McLaren had a chance today to perhaps put up a fight and get some points back from Alfa Romeo, but FPRL Locker there will be absolutely devastated, I would say. I'd go as far as to say he would be absolutely devastated to be out in Q1. That was very unlike him. We know he has the pace to make Q3, but he just could not find it in the opening part of this session.
Yeah, it's not great for the McLaren boys at all, and yeah, he's going to be absolutely devastated with himself. But the only thing he can do now is just use the next two quality sessions to calm down, refocus, and hope he's got the race pace to get back into the points. And we never know; it could be a couple of safety cars, something falls in his hand, and he could be on the podium.
Thank you for that one, TJ. So the opening part of qualifying, we lose TS9 and Mr. Whippy, Force Manure, FPRL Locker, as we've just been discussing, top of the timing charts. Adrian, closely followed by midfield Maestro, making his FPRL debut, and Magsy bringing up that third place at the top then. So those seem to be the drivers that have that pace advantage at the moment. One thing I was going to touch upon, TJ, in Q1 there, I think that was the biggest gap we had from a driver in first down to a driver in, last or 19th, 18th. It seemed like there feels a little bit more spread out around here. I'm not too sure why that is.
I think it's just this track, even though it looks easy from a track layout point of view, there are numerous places on the track to drop it if you run over a curb. You shouldn't run over or apply the throttle in an uncontrolled manner. And also track limits play a massive part in this track as well. That I feel it's not one of the strictest tracks on the calendar, but the track limits are very, very harsh and punish drivers.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw that from a lot of the drivers, even with about 6 laps to go. There's about 7 drivers yet to set a valid time. Of course, between qualifying sessions, it's a great time to visit our Twitch chat. At the moment, we've got plenty of familiar faces in there. I'm not disappointed with his Q1 performance. I think we were disappointed with his Q1 performance up here in the commentary box. Silverside Boy says, "Oh dear, they are just trying to be realistic with the real McLaren's pace." Supposedly, I thought they had good pace last time out in Australia.
Yeah, they had decent pace in Australia, so I don't know what Silverside Boy is trying to relate to there.
Not too sure at all what it could mean with that one. Nigel Pickle says, "Up the Whippy." Yep, up the Whippy indeed. He's taken your seat this evening. Unfortunately unable to progress from Q1, but hopefully he has a better race for your team's sake. Anyway, Cruiser, our new commentator, who you might have heard last Thursday and Sunday, actually taking the lead on main commentary for the F2 Championship, which started last Sunday. He says, "Up the David." Just as David put that quick lap in Q1, and this was the one I was going back to. I don't know how to pronounce his Twitch name either. D-Rack or something like that? I have no idea. No idea with that pronunciation. You might need to correct me on that one as well. It says wrong pronunciation. It is Neder. And Neder is in Q2.
So
stand at the moment.
So while you're bringing over the Twitch chat, I have noticed, and it does look very grim. That it's been very dark on track. The track lights on the cameras I'm seeing are on. Have we got some rain on the way?
Well, I was gonna touch upon that as we came back to commentary there, but it seems as though the drivers are coming out early. But a lot of the drivers choosing the mediums. But it does seem, I'm on board now with Swilzer, who's on a lap. He's invalidated, but it seems like towards the back end of the circuit, it's a little bit brighter in Sector 1. If you want to ride on board, perhaps with midfield Maestro at the moment, as we come through Sector 3, yeah, it's a big upturn in weather for our Sector 3. We've got some shadows from the sun.
Yeah, it's like we've just gone from one extreme to another. I'm going up and down the track now, and it's gone really bright again.
Yeah. But there is a lot of drivers on the medium, so surely that means we are not expecting a wet start, because obviously a lot of the drivers will be out there on soft, says David Lowface with a 31.5, a great lap on the mediums, and Midfield Maestro can only manage a 31.3, so perhaps highlighting what a lap that is from David Lowface there on those medium tyres. Midfield Maestro was one of the breakaway 3 in Q1, but could only manage a lap, a tenth and a half ahead of that one.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare even to Diamonds, Davies beat Diamonds on the medium tyres, and so he's got some fantastic pace around here.
Very good, perhaps practice making perfect. He's even ahead of Tadas at the moment, and Neda and Diamond both on the soft tyres. He's quicker than those as well. Magsy choosing for the soft tyres. TJ, we spoke about the strategy then. These drivers at the moment, there is 5 currently that are on the soft tyres. Willie Bum's still in the pits deciding between the 2 compounds, but do you think those drivers on the softs have been massively disadvantaged then if they choose to start on those?
Yeah, I do. From what various drivers have told me, that you don't want to start on the soft at all. They do only go 8 to 10 laps. Obviously, they'll get the better launch off the very start. But I imagine if you're going to start on the soft tyres, you are probably looking at one stop onto hards, or try to get a 2-stopper to work for you.
Yeah, and it seems like Willie Bum's still taking his time to make that decision as to what compound he wants to choose. The only driver in the pits at the moment to currently have selected the soft tyres at the moment. The times are coming in thick and fast at the moment. A lot of drivers coming into the pit lane then with just over 9 minutes left of the session as it stands. And one of those drivers that has put a good time in is... What was it? My name's coming out of my mouth. It's Hobnob. Hobnob in the Red Bull, I was going to say. 30.9 should get through on those soft tyres as things are. We're running our board now with Adrian, who we know has got massive pace in this tier, crosses the line and backs up that statement. Then a 30.7 from the AlphaTauri driver, quicker than both Hobnob and Magsy on those soft tyres. And so what a lap that is from him. Should see him through to Q3 and starting for his sake as well on those medium tyres at the moment. It's a bit difficult to call at the minute, TJ, whether the likes of Midfield Maestro, who did improve on that time, he's gone with a 31.3 now, whether they have managed to put a time in that would get them through to the final part of qualifying.
Yeah, as we know, that the drivers will set a lap on the mediums, perhaps push again to see if they can improve. And then there's always that key decision when you go back in the pits of, do you want to go out on a soft tyre and risk starting on the disadvantaged tyre, or do you risk staying in the pits and hoping your medium run was quick enough? I do imagine we'll see at least half these drivers put a set of softs on and come out.
Yeah, but if you have a quick flick between the detail at the moment, the only driver at the moment that has selected a different tyre in the pit lane is Diamond, who in a matter of fact has gone from the soft to the medium as things stand. 7.5 minutes left of the session, of course. Not a lot of action on track as things stand. We've got 6 drivers now on an outlap at the moment. 3 drivers yet to set a time, and Willie Bum might have spent about 8 minutes deciding there what tyre to come out on, but he has come out on the soft tyre and matches the strategy of his teammate. And Williams, they have been, a decent pairing in terms of scoring good points. You might have thought, TJ, that Williams might have gone with a slightly different strategy. I know the two work well together. I know they communicate well during the races as well. You might have thought they would have chose to split their strategy slightly.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a race earlier in the season where both of them got caught out and you had to double stack, and it effectively ruined the races. So we'll have thought they learned from that. And yeah, I think splitting the strategy won't have hurt them at all tonight. But all it takes, I suppose, is an early safety car, and they both benefit from it. So it's interesting. But I think they are banking on a very early safety car.
Definitely be banking on a safety car if they carry on the soft tyres at the moment. And Willie Bum does look like he is going to continue on that soft run. It's almost a little bit too late to back out now, because if he did come in and put the medium tyre on and got the lap wrong, then struggling to get a quick time in, and he will kick off on a fast out lap, he will hope. And so we've got a few other drivers that have started a lap. Then Diamond out there on the medium tyres. He did set his best time so far on the softs and clearly thinks he can go a bit faster on the mediums. I'm not too sure what the delta split is around here, TJ. Is it much? Is it just a few tenths, or is it more towards a second?
That I don't know. I imagine with a higher tyre degradation that you get quicker towards the back end of the lap. But yeah, I don't know what the difference is between the two tyres.
We're always well prepared here in the commentary box for facts that you need in this qualifying session and the race, of course, which will shortly follow this. Diamond does cross the line, slightly slower than 400 slower than his soft lap, unable to improve. Mongo with some pace out of nowhere, then a 30.5 on the soft tyres. As you predicted, TJ, a lot of the drivers coming in then changing from the softs, from the mediums I should say, to the softs. Diamond might be caught out here because he did choose to go the opposite way from the softs to the mediums and he did not manage to improve. And a lot of the drivers, and yet Tadas in now as well for the soft tyres.
Yeah, I think this is. I don't know whether some of these drivers, especially in the top five, will play a game of chicken, let's call it. You know, they'll put a set of softs on, go around and perhaps back off at the last minute. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me to see them from P10 downwards go out and set of softs. But it's just a case of now do P6, 7, 8. Do they stick on their medium tyres, or do they risk coming out on a set of softs?
Well, Maxi was able to improve on his second soft run then, so perhaps the track is coming to these drivers now, and those drivers, yeah, as you mentioned, choosing to take those soft runs might be caught out. Diamond, Tadas, David Lawface has just selected those soft tyres and remaining to basically the mark to set a fast lap. Then Willy Bum invalidated his first lap and has now invalidated the second. TJ struggling with 3 minutes 30 to go here. This would be a big shock if we lost him in Q2, but at the moment he cannot get the lap together.
Yeah, it's that's the risk not sitting in the pit lane. You know, TS9 found that the hard way, unfortunately. And Willie Bum is finding out now that, you know, he spent half his time in the pits trying to out what Ty wants, and he's put himself under unneeded pressure now. I imagine he might not have the fuel on board, but the tyres will definitely be gone from him at this point as well. So does he come in and invest putting another set of softs on, or is he going to try to push again and hope he can he's got enough tyre life he needs to, and he does come into the pits.
Valente now on a push lap for Ferrari. We know he's got pace in that Ferrari, but it does not look like he enjoys this track at the moment as Willy Bum retires in the pit lane then. Clearly doesn't think he can get back out and round. Spilzer 2 can't get a valid lap in and retires in the pit lane. So now we're only going to lose 3 more drivers from Q2 then.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive shot from Willy Bum. That is that. I would have thought he had time to go in the pits and come back out again, but he must feel comfortable. Or maybe he wants to start on medium tyres. Obviously, we don't know. David Lowface retired in P9. He obviously wants to start on the mediums, but he has set a fantastic time. But if these other drivers behind do obviously go a bit quick, he'll lose out. But you know, he'll obviously have a lot of confidence from the time he set on the mediums.
Yep, 10th at the moment, clearly prioritising the race strategy as it stands. Espenio then with the fastest time at the moment. David Lopez might in fact be knocked out by his teammate here. Valente on this set of soft tyres. Espenio, yeah, as we mentioned, with a great lap. But it is Valente who crosses the line and does put his teammate then into the drop zone. 11th place in now for David Lawface and will be out of Q2. We're only going to lose 2 more drivers, and as it stands, the drivers at danger. Midfield Maestro in 10th place, Tadas in 12th. Both Alfa Romeos at the minute need to get a lap in, otherwise they might be staring at Q2 elimination.
Yeah, obviously there'll be no big shockers here, especially with Tadas and Diamonds. Midfield Maestro, obviously he's shown fantastic pace already, so we'd expect him to go through. But I think for how close TV is nowadays, that we are going to see a shock, and we'll have to wait and see who it is as Tadas does start his flying lap.
Tadas onto his lap. Let's see if he is on the way round. Then he will be the first of the three on a fast lap to see who can get through to the final part of qualifying. Midfield Maestro also starting his final flying lap then with 15 seconds left on the clock. Belente, as things stand, is on a slow lap, so will not improve on his time. So it all comes down to then, at this stage, whether the two Alfa Romeos can improve on this final flying run. And Diamond as well is also on a run as it stands. One of only 3 drivers, it would seem, at the moment. I think Paniken's on a slow lap as well on the soft tyres, TJ. But at the minute, can you see what's going on with Midfield Maestro's lap, or is he improving?
Yeah, so he was 4 attempts up in sector 1, so he is, if he keeps his pace up, he is making it through. He's about to approach sector 2. I'll get an update once he crosses the line, and he's 5 attempts up. So assuming he keeps it nice and clean, he'll be definitely making it through to Q3.
Well, it seems as though then both Alfa Romeos, as long as they keep it tidy through the final sector, will be through into the final part of qualifying. Let's see if we can get confirmation that at least one of those drivers is through to the latter part of this session, and in style as well. Tadas taking the fastest lap in Q2, then a 30.3 to put him just under half a tenth ahead of Aspenio in Q2. But can Midfield Maestro challenge the pace that his teammate has showed? Diamond into the pits, clearly invalidating on his final run, and he does just pip his teammate there. Both Alfa Romeos into the final part of qualifying then on their last runs, and both of them did it in style to make it a 1-2. But it is a double elimination then for the Ferrari team. Both Belente and David Lawface out in Q2. And the only driver, TJ, to make it through on the medium tyres was Adrian in the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously got fantastic pace again this week. We did see it last week, but unfortunately he dropped us in the wet. And he doesn't look like we're going to see any rain this week, so yeah, he's going to be hard to beat this week for definite.
Definitely so then. So we lost 5 drivers, of course, in that part of qualifying day, where Swilzer Willibum unable to get a lap on the board then for Williams and Haas. A big shock for Willibum to be out at that part of qualifying. Some would say a shock as well for Diamond to be out for Mercedes. P13, he will start in the race depending on any penalties which are issued, of course, in this final part of qualifying. And then it is the 2 Ferraris, David Lawface and Belente, starting 12th and 11th then alongside each other from the start of the race. It's going to be a dry Q3, and of course let's revisit our beloved Twitch chat, of course. 38 viewers, 38 beautiful viewers to join us in this late part of qualifying. Looks like Ali Ferrari has turned up in the chat. Nice to see you here, of course. Hopefully see you racing in the Tier 1 tomorrow. And, oh, he's laughing there at David's expense of going out in Q2. Oh no, he's not laughing, he's crying, sorry. Of course he's crying. It's Ali Ferrari, why would he be laughing? How dare we? David yet confirming what we thought with Diamond invalidating and coming into the pits. Lola Lulu finally joining us. You're a bit late tonight, darling. Q3 we're in now. What's going on? Very late indeed. Nigel Piggle says, I was shedding tears. I was indeed shedding tears. I was wondering where you were. I was trying to see if you was watching us, but I couldn't find you in the chat anywhere. A bit of beef between Adrian and Nigel Piggle at the moment. Nigel Piggle actually, TJ, has said, how is Adrian in Tier 3 I would question why is Nigel Kiggle in Tier 3.
Yeah, they're both as bad as one another. We know the sandbagging frauds, and they have been caught out. And let's just face the end of the season when they both get promoted to Tier 1.
Tier 1, yeah. I love that. To the season 4, of course. Season 4 won't start, unfortunately, till the next game, of course, which should hopefully be with us in June. Only a couple of months away now. We've got a fan in the chat of Aspenio, official Nick 12. Go on, Aspenio. Well, he showed good pace in QT, TJ. Do you think he can get in the top 5 with that pace he showed on the soft tyres, or do you think it's a bit too much to ask from him?
I mean, I think it's possible for him. You know, he was unfortunate last week in Austria. Yeah, he's come back this week even stronger. So yeah, it'd be good for him starting top 5. I mean, it is a bit of a mixed Q3, to be honest.
It is, yeah. Of course, with those two fast drivers missing that we know in Nigel Piggle and Snedden, it's opened the door, and there's a couple of outliers in there, of course, in midfield Maestro and Nadir. We'll call him Nadir. We've not seen his pace in a Q3 session before, so it'll be interesting to see where he can put that AlphaTauri as he is standing in tonight for a driver which I should know the name of, but I do not in that seat. No idea. As it looks like the track temps might have come down a little bit with a bit of cloud above. Adrian invalidating then on his fast soft tyre run in this early part of qualifying. Be interested to see if he comes into the pits and gets a new set of soft tyres and goes back around again. Tadas has also invalidated on his fast run as well. Neder is invalidated as well. It's 3 drivers in a row that I've spectated that have all invalidated so far, TJ. So a lot of drivers struggling.
Yeah, I have noticed, and I think it corresponds to what you said about track temperature dropping slightly. The car's looking, everyone's car's looking a little bit loose. Like the back end looks like it's going to snap around on them. So I wonder if the track temperatures have dropped that much that the cars aren't planted to the ground like the drivers are expecting.
Well, midfield Maestro is going to try and dispel that theory with a 30.1, a very quick lap from him, perhaps touching into those 29s we mentioned earlier on, but it very much is getting cloudy. We've seen this throughout qualifying. The cloud keeps covering the track, and perhaps the temperature is not quite getting there. Maxi 100th behind that time on provisional pole. As things stand, Paddy Kent can't quite match that. A 31.7 from the Aston Martin over the line then. Next driver to put a valid time in is Hobnob with a 31.1. No way near the time for pole position at the moment. A full second nearly behind the pace of midfield Maestro and Magzi. It looks like there's a clear, it's still in clear, even in Q3 there's a clear gap between the drivers at the top of the timing charts and the drivers at the back.
Yeah, it's been a crazy qualifying for Tier 3, and as you mentioned, we haven't really seen it at all in previous races. They've always been really close, but yeah, it must be this track and drivers just too scared of track limits, or the back end just isn't planting to the track as they're expecting.
Let's see if Aspenio can make his fan and official Nick happy in the chat at the moment on his fast run for the Alpine team. Keeping it, I was just about to say keeping it valid, but as he goes across the chicane, he actually anticipated the commentator's curse there in invalidating. For me, I didn't have to say that he kept it clean so far. As he invalidates his fast run, then I'm Not Good managed to get a time in, but it was a 1:40.7, so clearly still struggling. I think TJ, what we saw in Q1, he'll be happy to even be in Q3. He's found some pace to make it into this part of qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. Just being confident in himself, perhaps getting used to the track again. But yeah, he'll be glad to have made it this far already. I'm hoping for obviously a quieter race. As we're waiting for the drivers to come back in, the usual who's got poll is up in the Twitch chat if anyone's interested. We have got a clear leader currently in Adrian, although his name has been spelled as brackets rain H2O, which is obviously reference to Adrian's dislike of wet tracks.
Yeah, I was going to say that those viewers that watched the race last week will know all too well Adrian HO3 hates a bit of the H2O. But fortunately for him so far, it's stayed dry in this part of qualifying. Although TJ, I'm riding on board with Neda now, and it looks like there's a few raindrops dropping onto the track.
Oh, I mean, this is interesting. Yeah, I'm on board. I'm not good, and it does look like rain is falling.
Well, Adrian H2O might not get a time in here because he's also been validated this run as it stands, so we'll have to go back around again, of course, cross the line to start another lap, and by that point, the H2O, as it is in the pole for pole, might be the curse that puts Adrian at the back in this qualifying session. He couldn't get the opening run hooked up at all. He invalidated his opening lap and did not set a time. Espenio set a time. It's a 31-1 to put him to 6th place, but we might not see any improvements now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because he said don't jinx him at the beginning of Q3. And we've definitely jinxed him here.
But he's coming to the pits as well.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be fuming, my boss.
Unbelievable. For Adrian then coming into the pits, looks like he may start no higher than 10th for the race. Tadas crosses the line. It's going to be a valid lap, so it's going to be at least 9th. Puts him into 7th place at 31-3 for the Alfa Romeo over the line. But the talking point of the session has to be the late rainfall and how it's caught out Adrian then, who we saw had the pace in Q2, almost fastest of all on the medium tyres, but in the end will not be able to put a time in surely now as the rain falls that can challenge anywhere near to Midfield Maestro's time.
Yeah, he won't. He'll obviously have DRS still. I don't think I've seen DRS deactivated, but the track will be super slippy. And yeah, I think his chance of starting the top three is definitely out the window. I mean, the guy can't catch a break. He's shown pace in the past 2 races, and then rain's just come and destroyed his qualifying. I mean, yeah, I'm on board with Mongo, and he's just almost slipped going round in one of the corners in Sector 3. So yeah, the track is getting really slippy.
Well, with 2.5 minutes to go, Adrian is back out there on the soft tyres. At the moment, I'm not good. Midfield Maestro both retiring, not feeling like there's any time in the lap, and surely there is no time in this lap as things stand. Even the surface of the track looks surely too wet to improve, and I'm assuming Adrian will just come straight back into the pits after this one. Not going to get anywhere near a 31-7 for Panic, and it looks like for the second week in a row then, Adrian as we'll call him from now on, it seems like he's been caught out again. Believe it or not, since the rain has fallen, the pole for pole has slightly skewed towards Midfield Maestro, who got that early lap in. Yeah, 30.1 from him from TJ. Yes, as we're pretty much certain now, no one is going to improve on their lap. Midfield Maestro alongside Magsy in second place then. Surely that's a brilliant result for Magsy.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic from Magsy. I think he might have expected B3, but not starting on the front row. Yeah, fantastic result from the Williams driver there. Yeah, I'm on board with Adrian, and just going around Sector 3 it looks really painful, and he is sliding around.
Sliding round, indeed. He's going to try and set a lap though, and I'm not too sure why. It's just a time on the board, but he's almost lost it out of turn 2. In fact, he has lost it out of turn 2. So let's watch Adrian's misery then, with soft tyres on a wet track with DRS disabled. And while we're doing this, let's go to our Twitch chat. Seems to be a huge bit of support as things stand for Aspenio in 6th place. And your boy's done good tonight, 6th place in the Alpine. Great time from him. I think that's his best qualifying performance so far, Aspenio, in 6th place. So you've tuned into the right stream there, and to watch your boy, Colin Summerton, and I think there's somebody else as well, Danny Mort as well. Aspenio, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And hopefully gets a good start for the race, which we expect to be dry in comparison to the final part of qualifying. Silverside Boy says, for God's sake, Biddle. I think that was in reference to the curse that I put onto Aspenio earlier on in this session. And there's a lot of laughter in the chat as well, I think, at the downfall of Adrian, or Adrian. This part of qualifying does not look like he's going to get a lap in. Let's see, TJ. I'm just wondering, with 2.5 minutes left, he's going to make the most of this, I imagine. Let's see if we can get some driver in here for an interview before the race. Let's see if we can get somebody of interest in the top 10 into the party for an interview before we start the race. And I'll keep referring to the Twitch chat as we don't have an awful lot going on track at the moment apart from Adrian. That's what you would say, TJ, is dancing on ice.
Hey.
Your favourite saying. Seddon says, another Alpha on pole. Nothing new here in my absence. Well, that could have been you, Snedden, but it looks like Midfield Maestro is best poised to take your 25 points at the moment. BFits03 says, it's actually pronounced Aspenia. Oh, I don't know how to put the N on that. I'm not gonna lie. We'll go with Aspenia. At this part of the conference. We'll start calling him that if you want. I don't know. I have no idea at this point. We'll just go with that in this part. This race. Adrian won the pole, but of course we'll start no higher than 10th. We have got somebody into the party to give us a little bit of an interview before the race, and I think he's got the stream on and loud and proud, as I can hear my own voice.
Sorry, I'll turn it down.
Nobody wants to hear that. So he's going to give that a bit of a turn down before the start of the race. Still here.
It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. Thanks to audio. Let's just run through the Q3 then. We've got a bit of an echo in the party. It hasn't gone very well. Midfield Maestro then will line up on pole with a 1:30.1, just pipping the man in the party at the moment, Magsy, to that pole position by 100th of a second. Mongo posting a P3 time, but of course the best runs unfortunately were stolen from us by the poor weather. So it is Mongo P3. I'm not good. I think will be pinching himself that he's dreaming that he's got that McLaren to P4 given his Q1 struggles. Hobnob as well in 5th place for Red Bull. Espenia, I don't know, Espenia. We'll go with Espenia in P6. Tadas P7 for Alfa Romeo. Neder in P8 for AlphaTauri. Panic End P9 for Aston Martin. And Adrian, unfortunately, unable to get the time in the poor weather conditions. Hopefully the drivers don't ready up. We have got a driver in here quickly, TJ, for an interview ahead of race. Maxi, lined up P2. TJ, take it away for an interview.
Yes, Max is P2 on the base. I mean, but are you feeling comfortable around France?
A little bit comfortable, yeah. But obviously it's a weird one because I've done a lot of practice and track limits was the main concern. So I was more worried about not just invalidating, because when you invalidate once round there, it just kicks your confidence and you guys can't get another lap in quickly.
Yeah, we noticed that through qualifying where some drivers just kept balloting lap after lap. I mean, were you expecting to start in the front 2 rows?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I might as well have confidence. Yeah, I was expecting to start at least on the front 2 rows. With obviously Snedden's not here, Pickle's not here. There's a good chance to get up there and show my pace really.
I mean, if you got a quick question, Bill, that I don't want to take too much time. Mag's time up. Obviously, the race might start shortly.
No, I was just going to say good luck for the race. Great to talk to you. A great qualifying session from yourself. To put it P2.
Cheers.
Give us a bit of action with Midfoot Maestro off the line.
Right,
Quick number before you go. Where are you looking to finish at the end of this race?
on the podium. It's simple as that. On the podium. I've been saying it for the last couple of days. If I don't finish on the podium, I don't think I'll be too happy. There's points to be won here, and there's points to catch up on Seddon and Locker. So the podium finish is the goal.
Definitely, but you've got to have one eye on the win today, surely, given the pace in qualifying.
Oh, there's definitely one on the win now. It's in my hands really now. If I can just keep it clean and manage the strategy right.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us for this interview. Good luck during the race, and hopefully speak to you at the end of it as well.
Cheers, boys.
So
That was nice, wasn't it? That's nice.
It was. It was nice. It was nice. It was nice to get driving quickly. Full of confidence as well, which is great, and hopefully we'll speak to you at the end of the race. However, while we were interviewing Magsy, we have been told how to say Espinio's name. I still can't pronounce it. If you want to take a quick chat, look at the Twitch chat.
We've gone for Espinio. Espinio. It's not Aspen, it's Espinio. We'll go with that. Who knows?
I'll nickname him.
Hopefully he retires on the first lap so we don't have to say anything the wrong way.
Instead of Espinio, I'm going to call him Alspinio. Just.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right, okay. We'll go with that, shall we? We'll curse him. Start the race. Aspinio, we're going to go with. Let's see if Aspinio lives up to the name that TJ just gave. Nice. Yeah, nice to see everyone in the chat cheering on a bit of Aspinio tonight. We'll see if he can come through with some good points for the Alpine team. We are about to get underway on the formation lap. As always, I'm going to leave TJ in the lurch to give you a beautiful rundown of the top 19 drivers that start the race.
Yep, thanks, Biddle. So in P19, DS9 who didn't settle up in qualifying, he'll be disappointed with that. I'm just going to check what tyres, and I think I've seen the hards on him. Yep, so he starts on the hards, which is a bit of a gamble, I think. We know hard tyres a bit can take a while to warm up, but he's obviously want to play a long game. In P18, we've got Mr. Whippy. Obviously grateful that he's managed to make time to come join us tonight. We'll be able to make some place up in the race. P17, we've got Force Manure on the medium tyres as well. P16, we've got Locker, who is the second driver on the hard tyres, so he's obviously playing a long game and hoping to get himself into.
TJ dipping out of the chat there halfway through. Oh, there we go, he's back. Are you back? Yeah, I think you just dropped yourself halfway through there. Carry on. I mean, you might as well carry on. Thanks for that, TJ, you beautiful man. A lot of the drivers, well, a lot of the viewers, I should say, in the chat, saying that your voice dipped out halfway through that beautiful run down there. I couldn't hear it either, but hopefully they heard the back end of that beautiful speech that you gave us of the grid. And the drivers, of course, lining up for the start of the race. And as you mentioned, midfield Maestro will lead the drivers away for the first time in FPRL in his first race. Then, as we get ready for 5 lights and an awful camera angle, we've managed to get a better one. And it's lights out and away we go. Then midfield Maestro seems to get away well off the start. But Mongo might have been bogged down a little bit there. I'm not good looking to go around the outside into turn 1. Let's see if there's any contact then. Most of the drivers managing to get through the opening couple of corners well. But there is a spinner. It's TS9 who's backwards continuing on from that form in qualifying then. At the front though, midfield Maestro still leads the way. There's not too much change in the field. Mongo managing to hold off I'm Not Good for 3rd place in the end. Well, let's try and catch up with that at the back of the pack. Willie Bum, Adrian, David Lowface all seem then to have made contact at the back of the field. Adrian then, after the woes in qualifying, now runs P19 and last for AlphaTauri at the moment. Willie Bum as well, a passenger in all that front wing damage for him, as David Lowface picked up any damage in that as well. Doesn't look like it, at least on screen. At the moment, Adrian definitely has damage. I mean, he was backwards into the wall. Not too sure whether David Lawface managed to get away with nothing there in the opening skirmish in this race then. But midfield Maestro still leads the way out in front, closely followed by Matty, looking to keep him in DRS, of course, not activated till the end of the next lap. Mongo P3 still I'm Not Good P4. Tadas made a couple of places up off the start. Midfield Maestro struggling with track limits early on already, as we can see there as he pushes to try and get that 1 second gap. I was about to say 5 there, because Adrian's got a 5-second penalty already for speeding in the pit lane. No one can hear TJ, so I'll keep talking. We'll get him to leave the party and rejoin if possible. And let's hope we can hear him, because otherwise it's going to be 27 laps of my horrendous accent. Let's see if we can get that sorted. Looks like we've got the bug from the last couple of weeks that's been plaguing us here on FPRL. I think Monkey Boy had an issue for Tier 2, and we had this issue ourselves on Tier 3 a couple of weeks back, as well. As midfield Maestro still leads the way out in front of Maxi, unable to break that 1 second barrier as things stand. Mongo half a second down as well. I'm Not Good half a second back as well. Tadas though is a second and a half back of I'm Not Good, and will surely now be building a bit of a DRS train behind him if Panic End can keep within that 1 second gap. As Aspinio, or Aspinio we're going to call him, down 3 off the start, down to 9th place for Alpine, but still going strong inside the points at the moment. Midfield Maestro sets the fastest lap of the race, quickly overtaken by I'm Not Good, who's looking to make a move on Mongo in the opening phase of this race. DRS now enabled, of course, after the first 2 laps of the race. Can I'm Not Good use that to his advantage? Well, Mongo at the moment has got DRS from Magsy, who now has fallen back off midfield Maestro, and hasn't got DRS, of course, so perhaps that will hamper him down the first DRS zone here. TJ needs an invite, so I'm going to have to cut the scream. The stream. 1 second. And we're back. TJ's back in the party. Let's hope everyone can hear him. Twitch playing absolute wonders on the stream this evening. Nothing's really changed, TJ, since you've been gone. Let's hope everyone can hear you. Let's see if everyone can hear you in the chat. As things stand, 3 drivers with a penalty at the moment already. We already know Adrian's got one for speeding in the pit lane, and Panic End and Swirls have become the first victims then of corner cutting. And as we say that, Mr. Whippy as well in P14 picks up a 3-second penalty. TJ is back, the stream says. They can hear your beautiful Stokey undertones.
Things you love to see and hear.
Things you love to see as he sums up the man himself, summing it up in just a few words. Absolutely beautiful stuff there. Let's have a look at the gaps then in the field at the moment. A big gap from, well, I'd say about Mr. Whippy downwards, 16 seconds off the lead at the moment. Force Manure trying to tag on to the back of FPRL Locker, still unable to get into the points at this phase of the race. Belente with a 3-second time penalty now. 4 laps in, the driver's struggling massively with track limits as things stand. But already, TJ, absolutely brilliant that you've come back, because I was getting a real dry throat there. 4 laps in, and there's already a 12-second gap between Midfield Maestro and FPRL Locker in P12.
Yeah, obviously Locker's on the hard side, so he's got to give time to get them the temperature and then to tune into the track. But do expect that gap to come down as the laps continue on, as the softs begin to go from Midfield Maestro, and the hards start to come into play for Locker.
A Spinio might have had an issue there through the chicane in Sector 2. He's dropped down to 10th place now behind Neder in the AlphaTauri. Neder, of course, on his FPRL debut. I'm Not Good now up to 2nd place, TJ, making the most of that DRS, I was going to say, but he's actually now coming to the pits.
Yeah, I'm just going to make sure, see if he has just changed his tyres, there's no front wing, so that's a very early stop for the McLaren driver.
This is something we touched upon in qualifying, TJ. The soft tyre runners clearly struggling on the opening part of this race, and we knew the only driver to make it through onto the mediums was Adrian, of course, who had the issues in the early part of this race. Runs 50 seconds now off the lead of the race, so kind of at this stage the top 6 all in the same boat at the moment. Diamond is the driver who's made up the moves from 13th to 7th and kind of sits the prettiest of those on the medium tyres, and in fact looking to make a move on Panic End in the DRS zone, so clearly his tyres working wonders at the moment.
Yeah, I do think it was a very early stop for I'm Not Good, so he must have had an issue with him. I'm expecting these drivers to go another maybe 4 laps on and then we could get rid of him. I do think I'm Not Good committed himself to a 2-stop strategy now.
Yep, definitely has done that indeed. The medium tyres will real struggle to get to about 20 laps. Don't think there's any chance of that. Diamond, as we saw, got past Panic End, so the medium tyres is opportunity, and Tadas and Hobnob then both into the pits on the soft tyres after just 4 laps.
Yeah, obviously the drivers must be feeling really uncomfortable on him. I have been told it was really high tyre dead, but I was told to go 8 laps at least. But these drivers just must not be comfortable on them at all.
Yeah, we got the information, yeah, as you said, 8 laps was a possibility. The drivers really struggling then to make the tyres meet that target. We're only just on to lap 6. The tyres have done 5 laps, of course, plus potentially the one that they did in qualifying, the 1 or 2 they did there. So these tyres now starting to run a little bit shoddy for the drivers at the front. The top 3 though currently 5 seconds clear of Diamond in P4, the highest of the medium tyre runners so far. Do you think that Diamond at this point, he started P3 in the medium tyres, do you think he could go the medium to hard and perhaps take that one left stop and gain there, or do you think safety cars might have something to say about that?
I think safety cars might have something to say about that. I do think he is going to be medium hard. I thought he's in a fantastic position the way he is currently. But if we do get a safety car, I don't know, within the next couple of laps, just extends his run. So yeah, it's all to play for Diamond still. He has got a couple options open for him.
He's all to play for. Panic-End into the pits then after being passed by Diamond, then looking to change from the softs onto the medium tyres. Then Mongo has managed to keep up with the back of that Williams. Magsy in P2 pushing him along the track at the moment and looking to get past. This is a good opening stint from Mongo, though he is yet to stop in comparison to some of the other drivers, and just as I say that, he runs wide and picks himself up a 3-second time penalty, clearly trying to push and get past Magsy in the opening part of this race, who we spoke to before the race. TJ Magsy confident of having the pace to keep up with Midfield Maestro. He said at minimum he was looking for a podium, but he's one of 3 yet to stop. Is he trying something different with the strategy here?
Yeah, he must be trying to push as much as he can on these softs, and maybe he's hoping on a safety car that'll play into his hand still. But he has got a pit within three laps, I'm going to say. Otherwise, he's just going to lose too much time. I mean, what is the gap between the leaders now? Okay, so yeah, the leaders aren't really pulling away from Locke. I think it was about 12.5 seconds last time the gap, as you mentioned, and it's up to 13.2. But I do imagine that's going to come down as we do see Max come into the pits now.
Magsy following Midfield Maestro from the lead into the pit lane. It'd be interesting to see what tyres they put on. Might they try to stretch a set of the hards, maybe to the end of the race? See what they go for. Midfield Maestro is going onto the hard tyres then, and Magsy, will he follow suit? He doesn't. He goes onto the mediums then, so split strategies there from the two drivers that were in the provisional podium positions.
Yeah, obviously I think Magsy is... I mean, we've got to go 19 laps. I think they might go to 19 laps, but they're going to feel horrible towards the end of the stint, I imagine. He'll be hoping for a safety car to relieve that pressure, but Midfield Maestro, he's probably done the better strategy out of the two.
Yeah, Midfield Maestro will surely be able to get to the end of the race on those hard tyres, of course, depending on the safety car situation. 19 drivers started this race, and we still have 19 drivers as of lap 8 as things stand. We can see on the left hand side of the screen as we watch I'm Not Good breeze past TS9 in the DRS zone and into the braking zone of the chicane of Sector 2, and TS9 getting very squirmish there on the exit, and now allows Midfield Maestro through on those new hard tyres. We can see the drivers, as I was mentioning, that haven't stopped in the top 5, Mongo, Diamond, Balente, Locker, Force Manuel, all yet to pit as things stand. They occupy the top 5 places. How long is it for a stop here, do you think, TJ? Do you think if Mongo pits now, which he has done, do you think he'll come out ahead of Panic-End in P11?
I think it'll be really close. I think he might do, but it will be close between the drivers.
Well, the question is, how close can he come out to the back of Magsy in the Williams? Of course, Magsy pitting a lap earlier than Mongo. Let's see what the undercut can do for the drivers. They've both got onto the medium tyres, and Magsy is through and is ahead by some margin, it should be said. A delta saying 2.5 seconds in one lap, TJ there. Mongo leaving it just a lap longer, but losing so much time in that one lap.
Yeah, that's the high tyre wear. As Adrian is retiring in the pits, the drivers obviously had enough. But yeah, back to Mongo. Yeah, I think that just proves how the tyre wear is in them softs. To pull a 2.5 second gap out for Magsy. Yeah, that's crucial at this point in the race.
Magsy dispatching of TS9 in the Mercedes, and yet to stop is the Mercedes driver, and will surely be looking to go long into this race on the hard tyres, but not able to carry the pace at the moment. Magsy, important there that he did get ahead of TS9 quickly to avoid losing more time to Midfield Maestro, who is currently the net leader of the race of course, and with his strategy. Should be said though, Tadas, who pitted early on, is ahead of his teammate as things stand, but we are expecting him to come in to the pits as there are split strategies at the moment. The Alfa Romeo drivers are still yet to see any of the top four give a sniff to a pit stop, of course, all running the medium tyres apart from Locker, who is on the hard tyres. So what lap do you think Locker can go to, TJ, on those hard tyres, and TS9 it should be said at this point, who haven't yet made a stop on the harder compound?
I mean, we know the harder compounds last longer, so I don't know, maybe the drivers will try push for lap 18 to 20, and maybe stick with that softs on for the last bit of the race. Obviously, we'll have a few loads at that point, so the softs will go longer. So yeah, I think it depends when the safety car comes out or not between now and probably the next 10 laps.
All the drivers managing to run a fairly clean race so far, even if the penalties are starting to stack up for those corner cutting infringements as things stand. Of course, the drivers who have got those penalties will be praying that they don't have a lane safety car, of course. It will be very punishing at the end if they do. Something that I've touched upon, TJ, I'm not good, currently running just behind midfield Maestro at the moment. He pitted very, very early, as we touched upon. He's keeping up with the net leader of this race as things stand, but he's not very good at keeping up with the ERS management. He's constantly below 10%. I don't know if that's because he's pushing so hard to keep up with the Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, it must be, yeah, that's an explanation for it, but I mean, he's only ruining his own race here because he's just burning his tyres up, and midfield Marshal's got the advantage, as I'm Not Good does make the move, or he tries to make the move, sorry. But yeah, he's just ruining his own race, and he's committed himself to the potential of a pit stop here. As Max is getting involved...
Maxi looks like he wants to profit off the contacts, the slight contact between I'm Not Good and midfield Maestro there, and does get himself ahead of the McLaren for the time being. Now, will he be able to mount a challenge onto the back of midfield Maestro, who he does have the tyre advantage at this stage of the race, Magsy? We know he has to pit again, but with that pace advantage on the slightly softer compound, gets ahead of the Alfa Romeo into the braking zone, and now then will take 6th place as it stands away from the Alfa Romeo. It is technically, for him, really a net second as things stand. Tadas ahead at the moment in 4th place, running his own race at this point, TJ. If his strategy is going to work, and if he's going to outsmart his teammate here, he's got a bit of a gap to his teammate, only about 3 or 4 seconds as things stand. What kind of lap would he need a safety car to take advantage of this strategy?
Probably about the same time that Locker and TS9 need one, really. About anything between lap probably 17 to 20, you know, to really pay off the advantage and perhaps going and sticking on like a set of softs on or something. But yeah, you'll be wanting one definitely for lap 20.
Definitely will be looking then to perhaps get a safety car and onto the soft tyres for the last stint of this race. About the half of the field at the moment with the penalty as things stand. Diamond Belente with 3 seconds out in front. Mongo Panican both with 3 seconds as well in 8th and 9th. Hobnob with 6 seconds as things stand. Nedo with 8. He's currently got the highest amount of penalties in the field. 5 seconds was for speeding in the pit lane. Swills and Mr. Whippy both on 6 in the Haas cars as well. Mr. Whippy, of course, occupying the seats that would usually be filled by Nigel Piggle, very active in the chat, but not active on the track this evening, it would seem, as he's enjoying a holiday and some time off. Don't know where he's gone, but if he wants to let us know where he's gone, we can pass judgment on his holiday, of course. And for the Espenio fanboys in the chat, they were here earlier, don't know if they're still here. He's had a bit of a quiet one from P6 on the grid, but he's currently 10th place at the moment. 22 seconds off the lead as things stand, but of course has made a pit stop as Diamond pits from the lead for the hard tyres. Espenio no penalties so far, TJ. Driving a clean race, and he's on for good points with the penalties applied to other drivers. I'm sure if he can continue on, hopefully he can. He's going to look to pass Hobnob into turn 1 here. Let's see if he can make the most of this, as we've got a Mercedes coming out the pit lane as well into turn 1. Oh, a bit early on the brakes, a bit cautious there from Svenio, making sure that he doesn't get into any trouble against Hobnob.
And that's really clever driving, that from a Spenia. You know, I think I remember rightly in Austria last week he was showing good pace, and the unfortunate accident happened where there was nothing he could do really. There was a car on the track. Yeah, unfortunately, of course, he's doing that. But I'm glad to see that he is back this week, and you know, carrying the same form through.
Yeah, I know he was very grateful to race last week, and he was very, very disappointed with how his race ended. He did sum it up perfectly by saying it was just one of those things, and as you mentioned, TJ, it was just one of those things, a driver on the track at the worst possible point for him. But as things stand, he's on for good points at the moment, following Hobnob, 3/10 down at the moment. It's currently the closest fight in the field. This little gaggle of cars looking to get into 8th place ahead of Hobnob. Nigel Piggle, TJ, as we've got a yellow flag out. Is McLaren in trouble? I'm not good. Seems like he's had a bit of a mishap somewhere, and he's down to 9th place then.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, we did seem to have issues in qualifying, so maybe it's just that carrying through. Speaking of McLaren drivers, Tadas is hunting down Locker here, and has got DRS into the straight. So imagine that they would take done. So it does look like them hard tyres for Locker aren't giving him what he wants out of him currently. The way Tadas has been hunting him down has been pretty quick. So perhaps some tyres are over the edge at this point.
Yeah, as Tadas looks to breeze past him then in the DRS zone. Tadas with low ERS, Locker with low ERS, but the DRS making the difference between the two drivers, and of course the tyre compound at the moment. Locker, one of 2 drivers yet to make a pit stop on those hard tyres. Valente, the other driver who currently leads the race, but when he stops, he will come out just outside of the points behind Neda in 11th place. I was about to say, TJ, we've had an update on Nigel Piggle holiday location. He's told us that apparently he's in Ibiza.
I mean, we know how the saying goes, pictures like it didn't happen.
We do say picture it didn't happen. We do say picture it didn't happen an awful lot. So if we could get some pics of that Nigel Piggle, we will believe you a little bit more that you're in Ibiza. We've got LWS Yorkie, Tier 1 driver, who of course Tier 1 will be racing here tomorrow evening at the same time, 8 PM UK time. As we saw Valente come into the pits there, Tadas inherited the lead. LWS Yorkie said Skegness, don't lie.
Big up Skegness.
Skegness, is that
Big up
TJ?
Skegness.
You're going
Yeah.
to Skegness
I'm going to
in a couple of months' time.
Yeah, look, I'm still in Skegness.
Yeah.
Stop dissing it, Yorkie.
You're going to Skegness. Are you taking the kids to, what is it Pontins or anything?
Butlins.
Or
We're getting Butlins for it.
Butlins! Oh, I didn't know. I don't I'm not clued up with the family holiday parks. Unfortunately, no children, so I don't have to worry about that kind of thing. But yeah, nothing wrong with Skegness. Skeg Vegas.
Skeg Vegas.
Quite like, you should know that. Up in Yorkshire. But yeah, let's see if we can get some pics of Nigel Piggle on a sun lounger in Ibiza. That'll be great content. I'm sure everyone will want to. If we get a picture, we'll tweet it out. So make sure you're following the Twitter. That's it now. We've called it. We're gonna have to tell everyone to go onto the Twitter page. If we get a picture of Nigel Piggle on a sun lounger in Ibiza, it will be tweeted there. FP, is it FP? I should know this.
Oh.
FP Racing League? I don't know. No, that's no. The Twitch is FP Racing League. The Twitter is Fair Play RL. I don't know why it's different, but the Twitter is Fair Play RL. So if we get a nice picture of Nigel Piggle, we'll post it on there. So give the Twitter a little follow. As we go back to the racing, anyway, Magsy is just ahead of Midfield Maestro as things stand. We saw him make the pass early on, but Midfield Maestro TJ starting to come back at Magsy slightly now. Less than half a second the gap. I wonder if those medium tyres are starting to fall off.
Yeah, I think so, but I mean, Tadas is older, but he's still stretching his lead. I mean, the Tadas between Tadas and Midfield Maestro is about 5 seconds, if not more. And he's just stretching his lead now. Well, obviously, Tadas has been a bit quiet race himself. He hasn't had much traffic. But yeah, Midfield Maestro definitely wouldn't look this far behind at this stage, anyway.
So the gap is about 5 seconds at the moment to his teammate as Tadas. Of course, we think Tadas will have to stop again. Don't not get those medium tyres till the end. 12, well, I should say about 11 and a bit laps to go now as they're coming through the final sector. So there is still time, but if Tadas wants to try and get that podium and get close to his teammate by the end, he might think about coming off the soft tyres in the next couple of laps maybe to make the most of them before the end of the race, of course. FPR Locker still hasn't stopped though, from B2 at the moment on the hard tyres. Only driver in the field to have not stopped so far. When he does finally come in for the pit stop, I expect he will come out at about P10, so he'll still be just inside the points, ahead of Force Manure, who currently occupies the last point paying position. Let's go to the penalty situation at the moment. They're the top 4, all avoiding penalties as things stand. 6 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 9 seconds from 5th to 9th. Blimey, there's a lot of numbers on the screen. And I'm not good with the 5 seconds as well. Panic End racking out 14 seconds in 13th place. Unlucky for some, unlucky for him at the moment as he seems to have racked up a lot of penalties. Of course, for good measure, getting himself another 3-second penalty. But the fight really for the win at the moment, well, it's very much in Midfield Maestro's court. We know he doesn't have to hit again. Just how spent will those hard tyres be? Tadas now will surely be thinking of the next couple of visits past the pit lane to come in. Do you still think it's on for Tadas? Do you think he can make the 2-stop work at this point, TJ, even without a safety car? Or do you think he's dependent on the safety car now?
I think it depends on the safety car, so I think it's about 20 seconds in the pit lane, if not more. So based on that, he obviously drops down to about P7, P8. And to make that difference back up again with 9 laps remaining, it's a very big ask.
And what are we saying about Diamond at the moment? Of course, he put the hard tyres on. It's P6 at the moment. He does carry a 3-second penalty as things stand, but he's looking good to get to the end of the race. We know that Locker, Magsy, Tadas and Mongo, Spenio for good measure will all have to come into the pits to get another set of tyres. Is there still a podium on for him at the moment after starting P13?
Yeah, definitely. He has played a very good strategy. He has an on hard tyres, which we'll get into the end of the point, obviously. It does all depend if drivers in front of him do pit, but as you mentioned, we do expect them to pit. So yeah, he's in a fantastic place Diamond is currently.
So watching Spenio looking to make a move on Diamond for P606 behind the Mercedes driver, gets very out of shape on the exit though and loses a big chunk of time there and drops out of DRS as well. So we'll look to try and close back up over the next couple of laps. There's still a fight going on for 3rd place on the track, 2nd place now actually. FPR Locker falling back into the clutches of Maxi and Midfield Maestro at the moment. But TJ, we know that everyone else has to come into the pits apart from Midfield Maestro and perhaps Diamond at this point. Locker at the moment has to pit as well, so does that put him quite high up once he finally comes into the pits?
I think so, yeah. So we're talking what Magsy's got to come in, Mongo's got to come in, Espinio. So yeah, so effectively he would come out in P4. So yeah, so perhaps his strategy is working out. But it all does depend if these medium type runners do come in or not, or whether they try to push it to the end.
to get a flag out in the final sector. It's for Swilzer, who seems to have dropped in on the hard right-hander, swooping right-hander, which is so easy if you just touch the curb there to get the car in a spin. As Magsy looks to get a move done under DRS from Locker, and does so. If Locker's clever now, he might think about getting that pit stop out the way on this lap, trying to get a bit of an undercut on Magsy coming out ahead of him when Magsy inevitably has to come into the pits. And Swills is now retired in the pit lane, so we know safety cars for that. Second place. It'll be interesting to see if Locker does come into the pits now, TJ, and surely if he does, that'll be the best thing for his race if the other drivers do have to come into the pits.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen how powerful undercutters he is, so diving into the pits now wouldn't be a bad thing, and yeah, he is coming into the pits now, so I imagine see a set of softs on for Locker. They'll put him in a really good place, especially if Magsy, Tadas and Mongo have to come. Do have to pit as we think you do.
Swilzer's AI car there getting very much in the way of Magsy that's come back out onto the track. He did retire in the pit lane, but the car has come back out onto track, unfortunately. We see this a couple of times in races. No fault of Swilzer's, of course, choosing to retire in the pit lane, but the car very much getting in the way of Magsy and allowing midfield Maestro to get right onto the back of the Williams. Once again, TS9 has retired from 12th in the pit lane. That's an interesting one. I think that's the highest I've seen a driver retire from a race. He's not had a very good evening though, TJ, has he? We saw the calamity that was Q1, really. Not too sure what he was doing, spinning round by himself at the end of the session, and he's retired at this late stage of the race from P12.
Yeah, I imagine I don't think he had the right setup around here, or he experimented with setup, it just hasn't worked. Obviously, it's always the best that you find a decent setup on time trial. You try apply to race pace, and it feels completely different. And that's probably what's happened in this situation.
Yep, unable to get the lap in with the warm tyres. 12 laps on those mediums for Magsy, 14 for Tadas out in the lead at the moment. TJ, I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking, but obviously we don't know what kind of condition those tyres are in. We're thinking about taking them to the end of this race.
I mean, it does look that way at the moment, but I mean, the state on tyres at the end of this is going to be. I mean, I won't even want to think about it, to be honest. Obviously, Locker nearly went 20 laps on his hards and looked like he was struggling, so 20 laps on the mediums. I mean, I'm on board with Tadas, and he is struggling to put the throttle down into corners, and he is taking it nice and easy. So that is proving the theory of them tyres aren't in the greatest condition currently.
I think what's working really well for Tadas here is, of course, Magsy is currently holding up midfield Maestro in the fact that he can't get past the Williams as things stand. Tadas is taking full advantage of that at the moment, despite, as you said, has got the poor tyres and poor temperatures, maybe unable to get his foot down as fast as he might like out of some of these corners. The gaps remained at about 5 seconds throughout the midpoint of this race. And this first all seconds didn't really quite. Warning there, my controller batteries are low, so we'll just there we go. Plug it in. Yeah, the gap's about 5.2 seconds, but surely now, as they come over the line, tell us to start lap 22, 6 laps to go. There's no point now in pitting, surely, for these drivers.
No, not at all, because they're going to lose at least 20 seconds, which will drop them too far back, and to make that difference back up on the soft tyres is, they simply wouldn't do it. So, yeah, it's a case of will the tyres make it to the end now? I'd imagine they will, but it's just one simple mistake on them now, and, you know, it's going to be very costly.
Yeah, midfield Maestro has managed to get ahead of Magsy in the DRS zone down the pit straight then, so will Magsy be able to come back at the Alfa Romeo driver, or will he set after his teammate. Midfield Maestro looks like he's struggling for ERS down into the braking zone now. Magsy thinking better of it, will not throw it around the outside, perhaps with his mind telling him he had his sights on the podium, thinking better of it, thinking about the championship fight in the second half of this season. Of course, round 10 will tip over into the second half of the season next time out next week. But is he better off making a move on midfield Maestro? And now the big question is, can Tadas get those tyres till the end of this race, avoid penalties, and stay and finish ahead of his teammate?
Yeah, that is the big question. I mean, it certainly looks like he's going to do it at the moment, but with 5 laps still to go, anything could happen. And like I say, one mistake, perhaps when he thought down too hard into a corner, and it's all over for him. I imagine he has literally got no grip on them tyres.
Penalty update on lap 23 then of 27, just over 5 laps to go of this French Tier 3 Grand Prix. And Mongo at the moment in 4th place on 6 seconds, will currently put him not quite behind Diamond, so he might look to get that gap down to below 3 seconds to get the jump into 4th place. Will Diamond, Valente in P6, but Locker at the moment looking to make good use of those soft tyres. Espinio, we've not spoke about him in a while. He has managed to get himself a but sets the fastest lap in the process. I'm not good, and Locker running 7th and 8th for McLaren. An upturn in race form in comparison to their qualifying form, even especially with the opening part of qualifying where we lost FPRL Locker, but he's got back to a good points position at the moment and might profit even more on penalties if he puts his foot down. Force Manure in 10th place in the last points position at the moment, but will unfortunately lose that due to penalties. 15 seconds for him as things stand, and Panikend has currently racked up the high score as things stand. 17 seconds for him. I think the chance of points at the moment will be pretty minute as FPRL Locker then picks up a 3 seconds penalty.
Yeah, you'll be disappointed with that, but it's always one to this when you've got the faster tyres on pushing. But you can still pick up some really good points here. One thing I have noticed, I'm riding on board with Tadas, he has got his fuel light on to say that he hasn't got enough fuel to get to the end.
Who does that? Who does that? Come on, Tadas. I have no idea who would fall for such a thing. Awful. Awful. But a lifted coaster from Tadas. 3 seconds the gap at the moment then. Just over 3 laps left. 3.5 laps to go of this race. The gap just over 3 seconds. Tadas can afford to lose a second at the moment to midfield Maestro and just be ahead of him over the line. But has midfield Maestro got the better tyres at this point of the race? You can see them in the background now. It was 5 seconds a couple of laps ago, down to under 3 now. TJ, do you expect midfield Maestro to catch and pass his teammate? And we know that Snedden is not in that car tonight, so would Tadas let him by, given he's just a temporary teammate for this evening?
I think Tadas will also try defending just to get the extra points, but given the state of Tadas's tyres and the fact he has got lift and coast, and it does look like he isn't going to save the fuel, so he's going to melt at some point. Midfield Maestro is probably going to take the lead and win this race.
2.5 seconds the gap now as they cross the line onto lap 25 of 27. Then Magsy still in hot pursuit as well of midfield Maestro, looking to try and sneak a second place if he can sneak an inkling that Tadas is running out of fuel at this point of the race. 3.3 seconds off the lead as things stand. Not a lot going on throughout the field at the minute. Penalties really hampering a lot of the drivers as things stand. 15 seconds now for first Manure, 17 as we mentioned for Panic End. TJ, is this a characteristic of this track? Not seeing the most action we've seen so far this season. We've seen a little bit, but do you think the drivers are finding it a little bit difficult to overtake out there?
Yeah, I think it's just because of the high tyre wear, and obviously drivers with a track limit still want to try and breach him. So yeah, I think it's just a bit of an unusual track, and I expect business as usual next week. One thing I've noticed, and the driver haven't really touched on really on this, is David Wallface going down in P14. Given the penalties ahead of him, assuming he can keep it nice and clean, he's in for a really decent finish.
No, that's because you've read Silverside Boys in the chat, haven't you? Silverside Boy, the biggest cheerleader of David Lawface, saying that David on for some good points. Well, I feel like there's a bit of favouritism there. David Lawface on for, as it stands, P10 with the penalties being applied ahead of him. Might sneak a point for Ferrari today. On to get some points as well in 7th at the moment, though, as the drivers cross the line. 2 laps to go now. Tadas now well within DRS reach for Midfield Maestro, and it seems as though Midfield Maestro has now managed to drop Maxi by some bit as well. 3 seconds the gap between them two now as well. So Tadas still with the fuel light on, still having to lift and coast to try and make the end of this race. Is he going to be able to keep ahead of his teammate here? Surely his teammate will breeze past down the pit straight the next go around.
Oh, for certain. Tadas has eventually done fuel saving for the past 4 or 5 laps now, and he still hasn't got enough fuel to gain for the last lap, I don't think. That probably explains why the gap's been closed off a lot quicker than we would expect. But yeah, Midfield Maestro is just going to breeze past him, I imagine, once he gets the DRS.
And what's happened to Magsy here, TJ? Because he was just a second behind Midfield Maestro, looking to try and pinch a P2 once Tadas had this fuel saving issue, as it looks like Tadas is going to let through then. Midfield Maestro, a little bit unconventional there, but he does let him through in the end. The red fuel light flashing now for the Alfa Romeo. How quickly is he going to run out of fuel? He's got less than a lap on board now as they come to start the final lap. But what happened to Magsy? I didn't see it, TJ, but he's got 2 seconds to these leaders in the space of a lap.
Yeah, I don't really see it. Nothing popped up on the screen, so he must have a bit of wobble coming out of the corner. Which doesn't surprise me how old the tyres are. I mean, he is possibly a chance for P2 here, depending when Tadas runs out of fuel.
2.9 is the gap at the moment. Tadas crossed the line, going onto the red fuel light off the final corner, so just dropped below a lap of fuel off the final corner, so have to do a lot of lifting coasting on this final lap in order to make the line there. So Magsy still within a sniff of a P2 as things stand. Midfield Maestro though pulling out a big gap out in front now on his debut. Espenio, what's happened? Running in the points. Oh no. On the last lap. He's in the middle of turn 1 and he's down to 15th. What a shame for him. Great qualifying performance. He was on for good points as well, but on the last lap manages to get it all wrong and down and out of the points. Let's follow this fight up front still.
He's ran out of fuel.
Let's see him off the final corner then. He has indeed ran out of fuel then. Off the final corner, he tries to power towards the line, but Magsy will steal P2 away from Tadas, who ran out of fuel off the final corner. Tadas running off the podium, but it is Midfield Maestro then who wraps up his first win in FPRL in style. A great performance from him, making the one stop to the hard work there at the end. Diamond then getting a P4 from P13 on the grid. A great performance from him. Mongo 5th place for Red Bull. I think that's his highest finish of the season so far, so a good performance for him. FPRL Locker from 16th to 6th. Great performance as well there. Perhaps some people's pick for driver of the day. Belente in 7th. And it's a double Ferrari points finish. David Lawface coming in 9th at the end due to the misfortune of Espenio, who Aspinioed on the last lap. I'll use it on the last lap out of the points down to 15th. but both McLarens yet in the points 6th and 8th, and Willie Bum not quite showing the pace that we might have expected to see from him, getting 1 point in 10th. But the real talk, TJ, has to be about the performance of midfield Maestro and the downfall of Tadas there, purely on fuel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, back to the T3 guys, there wasn't a safety car. So Tadas was obviously undergoing for a safety car. Big mistake, which some people have found out in other tiers. But yeah,
I have no idea what you mean.
But fantastic drive from midfield Maestro on his debut. And yeah, really unfortunate for Tadas, who simply can't catch a break in that in the second Alfa Romeo.
Indeed, it's still an Alfa Romeo double podium. It's still massive constructors' points for both of them. Surely now untouchable going into the second half of this Tier 3 season. And confirmation then, Midfield Maestro takes the win for Alfa Romeo. Maxi P2, Tadas P3, all able to keep it out of the penalties. Diamond in P4, good recovery from him from P13, as I mentioned. Mongo slipped a couple of places from his qualifying position. P5 for Red Bull, but still his best finish of the season so far. I think Hobnob will be disappointed down in P14, considering he lined up in 5th, clearly in the wars during the race, down to 14th place and out of the points. Nedir on his first race, 11th place in the AlphaTauri. Take nothing away from him, it was a decent drive, perhaps just not quite working out for him on strategies and penalties in his first FPRL race. Fastest lap goes to Aspinio, who Aspinioed on the final lap, taking him out of the points and down to P15. We saw some DNFs though. The first of those was Adrian, who had the problems in qualifying, and they continued into the race. Contact on the first lap, retired as well for good measure. 19th place for him. Swarzer TS9 also DNFing. Mr. Whippy bringing up the rear of the pack. Then we've got some drivers in the party now for some post-race interviews, if you could all include your audio boys, so the beautiful viewers out there can hear your response to our brilliant questions as always, as we'll try and load out of this screen, but it looks like we're not going to go any further at this stage, and I don't think we'll get Tadas in for an interview, unfortunately, as I don't think he's done an interview with us just yet. I'm not too sure he's even got a mic, so I think we'll struggle to get him in for an interview. TJ, if there's anyone else you want to give a little interview to at the end of the race, feel free to invite them to the party.
Let's get Diamond D again, P13 to P4. I think he deserves an interview for that one.
That probably leads, TJ, to my next question, which was going to be, as co-commentator today, who is your pick for driver of the day?
I mean, there's obviously a couple of drivers here that can get it. Fantastic drive from midfield Maestro, same as Magzi. Tadas going from P7 to P3. But I probably have got to pick Diamond there, P13 to P4. Fantastic drive. So yeah, he gets my driver there.
Yeah, big shout out as well to FPR Locker, who managed to make that one-stop strategy work to get some points from P16 on the grid up to P6 at the end there for McLaren after his woeful qualifying performance, and it will close the gap at the top of the table going into round 11. TJ just looked like he's unfortunately going to get a third man in here for an interview. Everyone's got such busy lives they lead.
Let's see if Locker will join then. You've mentioned Locker, so let's see if he'll join in for an interview.
He's just put in the chat, P16 to P6, you frauds. I mean, we don't do the maths here. It's not just all about, positions gains when it comes to driver of the day. We consider a lot of things. And, yeah, I mean, Diamond went up 9 places, you went up 10, so we'll give it to Diamond. driver of the day. We should probably start logging who gets driver of the day, TJ.
Yeah, we probably should.
We should probably, we do it every stream. We give out driver of the day, but we don't actually keep track of who has the most driver of the days. Maybe we'll start tracking that one. Doesn't look like we're going to get anyone in here for an interview, TJ. So we've got 2 people joining us. We've got P2, Magsy, who joined us for an interview after qualifying. And we've also got Midfield Maestro, who was taking part in his first race in FPRL today and took the win indeed. I'll crack things off with a little interview with Magsy. P2 today, Magsy. We spoke to you about your qualifying performance earlier on, so I won't touch on that too much. But race.
Ooh.
Oh wow. There seems to be an alarm or something going off in Magsy's house. I don't know if he's okay.
Hello?
Hello?
My controller decided to reconnect at a great time.
Oh, there we go. We can hear you now.
Hello.
Sorry, viewers, if your ears have now gone numb.
My bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rexy, we won't touch on your qualifying performance too much after we spoke to you after qualifying. But in terms of the race, you said the target was a podium. You said you had one eye on the win. Are you happy with P2?
With the way my race went, definitely. Took a gamble, didn't fully pay off. Tyres were screaming for me to pit, but yeah, no, I'm buzzing in the end of that. Absolutely buzzing.
I was going to touch upon the fact that you obviously, same as most of the drivers in the field, only made one stop today. But you ran a little bit of a different strategy to what we was expecting. Softs and mediums. How did you make those mediums work? And at the end of the race, I mean, how worn were they?
I spent the first few laps just, coasting and not really trying to put too much pressure on the tyres. Trying to just see if I can get them to go a bit longer than the original stint, and then hopefully pit again if I got time from the cars behind. The time from the cars behind never came about. Every time I checked the MFD, it was always you would come out 7th, 8th, or 9th. So I was like, I didn't think I could pit. And then by the end of the race, I had 92% front lefts, front rights, and 80% rear tyres. So then I dropped off 3 seconds from Maestro just to not get a puncture, and then was just focused on getting P3, and then obviously Tadas ran out of fuel, which was kind of like a gift from God, you can say. But yeah, just...
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, definitely was on getting that P2. We thought you might have been able to snatch it at the end. We saw that you lost a bit of time at the end, the last couple of laps there, to the back of Maestro, at the time. What happened? Because we were kind of wondering what happened. You was about a second behind, and all of a sudden you were about 3 seconds back.
Oh, literally nothing happened, spin-wise or anything. I just slowed down. I checked the MFD after 10 laps and realised I had 90% front tyres, and I was like, if I push any harder, I'll probably get a puncture. So I was just trying to not get a puncture, so I can just have a little push last lap, and it worked out in the end, really.
Yeah, no, it definitely worked out in the end, of course. I won't lead on to next week. I'm not being too much of a focus on the next race, as I'm sure you are at the moment, taking it race by race. We saw at a moment in the race, actually, where you were having a little bit of a battle with Maestro. I think it was down that second DRS zone. You looked like you were going to make a move around the outside, but then you hesitated slightly. I mean, at this point of the season, have you got kind of one eye on the championship as things stand, and you don't want to make any half-assed moves and perhaps end up in a spin?
I think that all depended on who I was racing. Obviously, if that was someone like Snedden or Piggle and I was in that instance, I probably would have went for the move, just because of the championship points and how close it has been at the top. But because they're not racing, I thought I'm getting points on them no matter what anyway. So I'd rather not gamble today and then gamble another day.
Well, brilliant. It paid off in the end. 18 points for you, and hopefully gets you a little bit closer to the top of the championship standing. So
we hope.
And the podium. Hopefully, a win is not too far in the future for you if they're racking up all these podiums. I'll hand over to TJ now, who will interview our race winner on his debut, Midfield Maestro.
Yeah, thanks, Beddle. And congratulations to you, Mags, on your P2. Midfield Maestro, congratulations on your debut win. How are you feeling?
At the front come the end of the race, so I couldn't imagine what the mediums were. But yeah, no, really happy with the debut win there. Can't really ask for more.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you just covered all my questions I was going to ask, which is fantastic. I mean, I will just jump back to your quality just ever so slightly, and you did mention about the rain. Did that catch drivers out? Did the radar show rain?
Yeah, it said rain in about 5-10 minutes, and I thought, okay, get out quick, just get a banker in. So if it rains, it rains. If it doesn't, then you can do another lap. So I kind of got a decent banker in, and I did actually want to go. I did actually come out again, but it started raining. And I just thought, forget it. I can't see the track getting any faster. I think the track temps would drop in, and I was like, I just have to stick with that. If it gets beat, it gets beat. But luckily, on the first kind of runs in Q3, a lot of people were invalidating, so they didn't kind of get to do a lap that they probably could have done, could have bettered. So yeah, got a bit lucky there with qualifying, and yeah, like I said, in the race was just managed tyres to do one stop. I didn't ever think of doing a two stop, so it was always going to be a one stop. Like I said, the others probably would have just done the opposite to what I did. Might have worked out differently. So, but no, great pace by Maxi today as well. I couldn't really get past him until his tyre. I had to literally wait till his tyres died to get past him. So, because I couldn't really get past. I had to just push to stay in his DRS. So, no, fair play. It was a really good, enjoyable race. That really enjoyed it.
No, it's fantastic to hear. Yeah, you certainly put a good battle up. Max put a good battle up against you, and yeah, you hung on and got the win in the end, which is bit for your debut is you could have made miles better. But yeah, congratulations on your race win, and
Appreciate that.
Maybe we'll speak to you again next week if you get a drive.
Yeah, definitely. Look forward to it.
And I'll hand back over to Biddle at this point.
Thanks, TJ. Congratulations from me as well, Midfield Maestro, on your win on
Thank
your
you.
debut today. And thank you, first of all, for giving us a new name for Tapas in Tapas.
Oh, Tapas, yes,
Now-
Tapas, yeah.
He'll now be known as Tapas from now on Wednesday evenings. Thanks for that one. But no, honestly, congratulations on your win. And thank you everyone who stayed for the interviews and who's watched along this evening, whether you watched it live on YouTube or you've watched it back on Twitch. Thank you for giving us your time, of course. And we'll be back tomorrow, as always, with Tier 1 around the same circuit, France, 8 PM UK. Tier 2 takes us away on Friday as well at 8 PM around France. We're back next week on Tier 3. TJ, remind me of the track we're at next week. I have no idea.
We're at Hungary.
Hungary. Oh, that's maybe a bit hungry.
Hey.
I'm gonna get some food after that one. Wait. Here we go. We're back at Hungary, Budapest next week. Wednesday 8 p.m. for the next chapter and the second half of this season, it should be said, into the second half of the Tier 3 Championship next Wednesday. So with Snedden missing, the Championship gap tightens at the top. He still has a healthy lead going into the second part of the season though, and Alfa Romeo with their first and third extend their lead, and the constructors, can anyone chase them over the second half of the season? Is anyone way to find out? So join us next Wednesday, as I mentioned, for the first chapter in the second half of the season. But it's good night from me for now, and it's good night from my co-commentator for this evening, TJ. Thank you for joining me once again.
I mean, no worries. It's always a pleasure to do commentary with you, Beddle, as we're very professional, as everyone knows.
Very professional, as we know that every corner number, every corner name, of course. Tune in tomorrow. Tier 1 might give you an even more exciting race than we had this evening, so make sure you tune in.